Bases dropped on a new round of SDH AM. John, hear you there. The hair is out of control. What else is new? Helmet, it's like headset hair, and it's just got a mind of its own. Anyway, it is Tuesday Thoughts here on SDH AM. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. Here's the rundown for today. Opening kickoff is going to be our daily when there are matches, catch up on everything going on in the OFC Pro League, and there is a connection to our footprint. We'll get into that coming up in just a little bit. The only match that was played overnight because of weather conditions, if you saw the pictures that were released by the league, and we would recommend to follow on the social medias, at OFC Pro League on the 280-character app and so on and so on. So it was downpourish, and I'm being kind. So it was one match instead of two, and the one match that was played involves our friends at Auckland FC. We'll have the highlight. We'll have the main highlight coming up in a bit. We'll let you know what's going on with the storylines, and we are efforting the goal scorer for the draw for Vanuatu United, the Winthrop and Virginia Tech story that we came up with, Willie Cardona. It is going to be catching up with him, and we're going to be doing that tonight. That will air in tomorrow's show. We're also efforting another couple of guests for tomorrow because of the beginning of training camps and things. We'll let you know what's going on there. But opening kickoff is going to be OFC Pro League and the connection here to the SDH footprint coming up in just a little bit. Also, Madison Crews is going to join us if her sinuses behave at the bottom of the hour. We're going to talk about Atlanta United, and we'll go back and kind of reference the Chris Henderson conversation that he had when training camp opened up. And we'll discuss with Maddie about the twos and the homegrowns and her thoughts about how things are going to be integrating as we get ready for the first exhibition match in about 9 days. It'll be 9 days, 10 days. Where's my calendar? So, of course, my calendar's not here, but it is, well, actually, here, let me reach back and find it. So the 2026 calendar, the 30th, so 10 days. 10 days from now, it's going to be Lexington SC. We'll all be up at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. We're going to be doing SDH live from the training ground on the 30th, leading into the broadcast of the morning kick with Atlanta United and Lexington. And we should be catching up with friends old and new. And 10 days from now, so we've got that to lead into, and Maddie will be coming in here with her early thoughts, and we might get into the twos and the homegrowns and how they integrate as well coming into the process. There are new majority owners in Kansas City, so of course that happens after the show yesterday. And so Daniel Sperry is set to join us, or rejoin us, possibly with a line producer in hour number 2, and we'll see how the DAD is doing, and we'll kind of look at the two ownership groups there in town and discuss where where their foci are, and we'll kind of compare, contrast the ownership group in Kansas City with Sporting, with the Longs and the Mahomes, with Current, and we'll kind of see the directions that they're going and what the anticipation is now that there is an ownership change in Kansas City. It is Champions League match day. We'll get into that, get into all the transfer news, get into anything else that is on the table this morning. But yeah, it's going to be OFC. It's going to be Atlanta United. It's going to be Major League Soccer. It's going to be Champions League. If you missed soccer over there last night, it was chaos. Nothing new there. But we did fall in love with a new team. And they are in the Guatemalan footprint, CSD Mictlan. And we got to find out about rabbits and Aztec mythology, and we now want the gear. So I'm going to send them a note. I'm just going to send them a note and say, hey, look, we fell in love with your club. We did all the research with the Aztec mythology, and we're looking to figure out where we can get CSD Mictlan gear and give you the SDH bump. We're giving them the SDH bump because we talked about it so much last night. But once again, you can learn about Mictlan. You can learn about Guatemala. You can learn about all of the CAF Champions League and all those kinds of things. That's soccer over there. 8 o'clock Monday nights until whenever, and usually it's 10 o'clock or so, but then we went and spent a half hour on Aztec mythology last night. So you've got that. If you don't have your notifications set your notifications. You'll know when it comes up. We spent a lot of time talking about pundits and podcasters that want to talk out of both sides of their mouth, and we got into that last night, and then we got into picks of the week, and that's where the chaos started. Well, actually, the chaos really started from the beginning, but anyway. So pundits talking out of both sides of their mouth, and our responsibilities when it comes to covering the game and talking about the game and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of turned the mirror on ourselves a little bit in hour number 1. Then in hour number 2, we got into picks of the week, and we learned probably more about Guatemalan soccer and Aztec mythology than we ever thought we could find out. Especially if you're like drunk, the 400 rabbits drunk, worth of drunk, and 9 layers of hell that it takes you 4 years to get through. That's what we got into last night on Soccer Over There. It's posted. It's up on your favorite social medias and all those kinds of things. And so go back and listen to that chaos. It was there. We did not talk about Hulk, Ricky. We did not talk about Hulk. So hang on. Hulk, soccer. Give me another keyword. I might need it. Major misconception. That's March. Was there an update? Okay. Yeah, okay. I see. Okay, I see where you're going now. Got it. We did not talk about Hulk, but now we probably need to in Soccer Over There. And I'm just going to do lead off with this. Brazilians, and this, I guess this might be opening kickoff. We'll see. Brazilian soccer star Hulk is now married to his children's cousin. Previously split from his wife of 12 years in July of 2019, with whom he shares 3 children. Later confirmed he was dating his ex-wife's niece, and the pair have since gotten married. So that's the kind of stuff that you get into on SOT. So, no, we did not get into that, but that would definitely be SOT material. I will grant you that one, sir. Okay, wow. That's definitely SOT material. Now, yeah, it's going to be one of those days. All right, so quick reminder. The weekend, or the end of the week, is going to be chaotic. So we're just going to go ahead and say it right now. Just be safe. Boss has to head south, and it is going to be on Saturday and Sunday, it looks like, and I'm looking at the Big 55, and they're already sitting there and saying it's going to be crazy. So this weekend, y'all be safe. I'm going to put that out there right now. So just be safe, safe, safe. Boom, be safe. And because we want you all back here next Monday to talk about stuff. All right. Morning, Ricky. Morning, David. Morning, Alex. Yes, David. Anyone needing a brush up on Aztec legends, listen to SOT. Yeah, so just listen to all of SOT. You'll enjoy it. It's like 2 hours and 20 minutes. And yeah, we went like a half hour on Aztec mythology. So yes, absolutely. David is spot on. You want to learn more about Aztec mythology than you ever knew? Aztec mythology, that's the place. All right. We got transfer news. We got the AM news. We got your juice boxes. We got all the things. That's going to be all in one place here this morning. All right. Opening kickoff. And it is a tour of the OFC Pro League. So opening kickoff brought to you by Black Pitch Coffee at blackpitchcoffee.com. We start your day with the most important stories in the game and the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee is part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala. Heavy bodied with notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff powered by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee. All right, so it was supposed to be 2 matches in the overnight with OFC Pro League, but because of downpours and literally somebody just turning the spigot on and not stopping, it was only 1 match. But it was a match that was important to those of us here in the footprint. It was Auckland FC and Vanuatu United. Here is, and it took to the 8th minute for the first goal to be scored in the match. And you'll notice a familiar name, courtesy of our friends at FIFA Plus and the OFC Pro League. Here's your highlight.
Here we are. They're getting the ball back again now. So that goes to Tade, but finally gets a little nudge there to Donkers. Tade again. For space on that right flank. Nice touch from Wynn, but that is good defense again. Good defense coming in from number 4, Edward Rongthara and Ramazani. So Wynn's got it over there as Tade on the replay tried to find him. Did pretty well to control that one. And now long throw in coming here from Ronan Wynn. And it's a good one. And it's in. It's a goal, in Auckland SC, through a bit of a defensive mishap, have got the opening goal, and it looks like it is Luka Vislic. Well, a great start for Auckland FC. first time we've seen them apply some pressure in the area, and that pressure has come up trumps.
Well, I feel like the OFC Pro League is home of the long throw. We saw a few on match day 1 and 2, and anything that they can do, Ronan Wynn can do better. It's a monster throw deep into the area, and Luka Viselic, out of hope more than anything else, gets his head on it, and Diho, who was absolutely exceptional on match day 1 in his one-on-one battle with Kylie Ovray, just can't clear his lines. And Auckland FC, inside their first 8 minutes against the run of play, Glenn, have taken the lead 1-0.
Ronan Wynn with the opening assist in the match. So for those of you that have your Atlanta United 2 names stuck in your brain, as you always do, Ronan Wynn leaves Atlanta United 2 after last season, shows up with Auckland FC, gets an assist in the opening goal, 9 changes for head coach Luke Casserly, and they would go on to win by the score of 3-1 in the matchup against Vanuatu United. And like I said, we're going to be catching up with Vanuatu United tonight. It'll air tomorrow. So that's going to be a fun interview to catch up with what's going on with all of that. So 3-1 win for Auckland FC, and it was the goal by Casserly in the 8th minute, and then you by Luka Viselic in the 8th minute, Emiliano Tade with a penalty in the 20th, Matt Ellis in the 69th, Jordy Tossip scores in the 51st to make it 2-1 at the time. It was 2-0 at the break with Viselic and Tade getting goals. So 2-0 at the break, 2-1, and then Matt Ellis scores with 20 to go to make it 3-1 your final score. And so right now in the standings, those are the two teams that have only played twice. So a lot of the other activity is going to be kicking in today with the clubs finally kind of catching up on match day 2. So Auckland, 2 wins on the spin. They've outscored their opponents by the score of 6-1. Here's your post, courtesy of, once again, the OFC Pro League. You'll hear Auckland FC head coach Luke Casserly and the man who wore the captain's armband on the afternoon, Michael Den Heyer, discussing what went down with match day 2, that they survived, and they probably went to go and find a hairdryer and just kind of towel off a little bit after the big 3-1 win.
Yeah, a bit too entertaining for my liking, to be honest. But first, I just want to give a massive shout out to the ground staff here that worked incredibly hard all afternoon and all day to get the pitch ready to be able to play. They've done a super job, so thanks to that. But yeah, the game was, as I said, a little bit too entertaining for me. Just our inability to control the game with the ball, the amount of turnovers, and they're very effective in transition caused us some problems. Yeah, so I think the fact that our goalkeeper was one of the best players on the pitch for us tells a bit of a story, and yeah, we obviously very happy to get the 3 points, but a bit to work on, particularly with the ball.
And Michael, as a player out there, how much do you think that maybe lack of control at times was down to that conditions? Slippery, heavy under feet. There was so much rain on the surface, and we did well to get the match played, but it can't have been easy as a player.
Yeah, I think both teams have to deal with the conditions. Yes, it wasn't easy, but yeah, we can definitely be better with the ball. We have not had a long time together, so some of the combinations will take time to gel and learn where people like to move and all those sorts of things. So yeah, it was a bit of a challenge tonight, but also for a lot of the boys, it was their first 90 minutes in a long time. So I think we're going to be better off for that. And yeah, we got the job done at the end of the day. So I think we can be pleased with the result, but just not the performance. 3-1
win in the first game for match day 2 in the OFC Pro League, but Ronan Wynn registers an assist. And, once again, quoting our buddy Paul Harvey, if I can find it, here we go.
Now you know the rest of the story.
There you go. So Ronan Wynn gets the assist, 3-1 win for Auckland. Auckland FC is out of the blocks with 2 wins on the spin. So that is opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee, blackpitchcoffee.com. We start your day with the most important stories in the game and the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee is part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala. Heavy-bodied with notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff powered by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee. So I'm thinking that perhaps as we go here, that our OFC Pro League coverage might end up being OFC Pro League. That might be opening kickoff. That's what I'm debating, just because it is literally highlights and posts coming out of the overnight. And with the league being what it is and all the starts and everything, with the league happening, it might be opening kickoff for a lot of our mornings. So just kind of keep that as an idea of what the kickoff may be here for SDH AM. So we're going to be devoting a lot of coverage to it. Don't get me wrong, but it might be overnight highlights and maybe a little post for action involving the OFC Pro League here in January and February as we get ready for everything here on your morning. So once again, thanks to everybody who is already in here this morning. So morning, Abby. Yeah, Ricky, that was crazy. When I was driving back with the boss on Sunday to see, and I saw there was this one posting from one of the TV stations in Macon just about like whiteout conditions. And my guess is that everything just kind of came through as a bit of a squall and just kind of dumped on Middle Georgia and went on its way. It's like, we're not staying. We're just kind of sitting here. We're going to mess up the house and we're going to go. And so you have that happen. When we drove through it on Sunday afternoon, everything had pretty much gone through front-wise, and you could see in areas that didn't have any shade, that had shade, where the snow still was. I mean, you're seeing snow in like Cordele, and it was crazy. So, Cordele North, you were seeing snow underneath the trees and things. So, really wild to see all of that stuff there with Macon, Perry, snow, and et cetera. So, morning ropes. Morning, David. Morning, Alex. Hope that things are on the road to recovery, and to make sure that your wheels are on the mend. That the mechanic did the job that they were supposed to do, and that the wheels are on the mend. So, morning, Ricky. Morning, David. Morning, Alex. Morning, ropes. And obviously, yes, Ricky. And morning, Abby. Yes, Abby's still in South Florida. She gets to hang out there for another day. Yay to Indiana. That, Abby's phraseology of yay to Indiana, that's probably the G-rated version for me, considering the team that they were playing last night. And really, for me, it was a little more colorful, the language. So we were off the air with SOT at like 10:25. And it was fourth quarter and such. And, it's like I figured the game was going to start off slowly. The under would have been the play by the half. And then everything was going to open up in the second half and get close to the total and all that stuff. I didn't think it was going to be blowout city, considering where it was going to be, but I give the IU fans a boatload of credit. So they were in the lower bowl at Assembly Hall watching the game there, back on campus, and it was a loud. I mean, I don't want to know how much money was spent on tickets by the IU people to be in the half of the stadium that they were in. I imagine it was a lot. But kudos to Indiana. And tonight we are taping on the other side of the street, the college football show, and that'll be out on the OSG Sports side of things. It'll be me and Marty and Big Phil and Brother Sly and anybody else that wants to come in and party and talk about it. We're taping it tonight. It'll be out either later tonight or tomorrow. And we're going to discuss the championship game. We're also efforting some things for College Football X and catching up with folks there. Trying to track down some cool stories. We do have Keaton Galogly, the play-by-play voice of Montana State, for an interview. We've got that in the queue. That'll be up as well on the OSG Sports side of things with college football and so on. So we're also planning some more programming over there on that side of things. So set your notifications for them as well at OSG Sports on the Twitters and all the social medias. But yes, my response to Indiana winning was a little bit more colorful than yay. I will give Abby credit for the G-rated version of yay to Indiana. Mine was a little bit more colorful and a little bit more enthusiastic. Oh, you flew home during the game. Okay, got delayed leaving Palm Beach. And yeah, because of folks that were flying into Miami. Okay. All right. So now let's get you into anything and everything else that's going on. Like I say, Maddie's going to join us in a couple of minutes. You've got some teams that are already overseas and they're playing in their preseason camps. I think Philadelphia is off and running this morning. They've already got a goal on the board. I think, according to Jonathan Tannemal, Korjanowski has already scored this morning, and it is all up and running. So, okay, so we got that one too. Cool. All right. We're booking other guests as well here in the footprint. So literally, I have folks who are back at work, and took yesterday off as you should if you were able to. And now we're getting ready for those kinds of things too. So we're efforting Soleil Washington now that she has signed with Orlando Pride, all the NWSL things as well. So, yeah. So it's like people, it's like I'm trying to maybe during an interview or something, I'll answer an email back anyway. Okay. So you got teams that are working in their preseasons. You're seeing on social media folks that are over in Europe and they're getting their first ever matches up and running, just trying to get everybody all acclimated to one another. You have rosters that have been announced for the preseason. FC Cincinnati has announced their roster, and it looks like it's 29 folks that are going to be in camp, just to give you an idea. Some familiar names, obviously, and then there are some folks, obviously, that are coming in, whether it's through the academy or FC Cincinnati 2, Celentano, Evan Loro. You've got Andre Chirilla, who we got to see last season with FC Cincinnati 2, Echenike, Teenage Hadebi, Hagland. Let's see. You've got a couple of unsigned players, trying to see if there are any real surprises. Miazga Powell, Brian Ramirez is in once he gets integrated with his P1 visa, Miles Robinson and Kyle Smith. Midfielders are the same, and the forwards are the same for FC Cincinnati. So the midfield for Cincinnati in camp, Anunga, Buka, Evander, Guidi, Steven Jimenez, Obina Wobodo, and Dadi Valenzuela. Up at forward, it's Tom Barlow, Ademar Chavez, Stefan Chirilla, Kevin Denke, Christian Fletcher, Ayub Jabari, and Kenji Bombadem. So the four preseason friendlies for FC Cincinnati. They're going to start at IMG Academy against the Rebs this weekend. Then they're going to be in Tampa and Clearwater and Tampa between now and February 11th. And so preseason training started last week. Training is in Clearwater at Walter Campbell Sports Park. So FC Cincinnati is up and running as well. For LAG, they have announced their preseason schedule. They've got a couple of they have three closed-door scrimmages. Portland on Friday, DC United a week from there on the 31st, and then Orange County SC on February 4. Then they go to Coachella, the desert for the Coachella Valley Invitational at Indio. That's on the 8th, the 11th, and the 13th of February. Their home opener is the 22nd. You're also seeing some folks that are having to adjust already. They're getting time changes laid out for all of their matches as they go here. And, so if you thought you might have a 7:30, just keep an eye out for your emails if you're a season ticket holder for whatever club you follow, because you're seeing some teams that are having to announce their season ticket, their schedule changes, whether it was a 7:30 that's now a 3 or a day that's changed on a weekend. So just keep your head on a swivel for those kind of things as we go. RSL has brought in Lucas Engel from Middlesbrough. Mitja Elenic has been moved from NYC to Rakov Shestakova. And there are a couple of other, little transactions that are in. And the biggest one yesterday was Tadeo Agende. And now Agende is in until 2030, I think. So 2030 and the other option years. San Jose's Nick Lima has announced his retirement as part of all of the seasons that he has been in Major League Soccer. 31-year-old, 9 seasons. San Jose, Austin, and the Revs, 9 + 20 and 211 appearances, 9 caps with the United States. And so Nick Lima has officially retired from Major League Soccer. Also on the board, we mentioned Lucas Engel from Middlesbrough to RSL. William Yarborough has moved to Toronto FC, is now officially official. So it's Luca Gavrin and William Yarborough. It was going to be Gavrin that was going to be the starter unless something happens in training camp that we don't know about. But William Yarborough is now officially in at Toronto FC. It had been discussed and we've talked about it, but now it's officially official. William Yarborough, who last season did a lot of practicing for Messi and friends. He was the 4th keeper, and then he was the 3rd keeper, got a medal, and he ends up now in Toronto after his contract was not renewed with Messi and friends. And so Minnesota United also, they signed Kane Rizvanovic, their homegrown keeper, to a deal. And so he is now from the 2s. He is now with the first team with his contract status. And now officially it is a first-team contract through 27, options through 28 and 29. And he spent last season with the Loons 2, 3 clean sheets in 17 matches across the regular season and the playoffs, 1 clean sheet and 6 caps between the U18 and the U19 for the United States. And so Rizvanovic, who was with FC Cincinnati previously, is now in camp officially now as a first-team player contract for Minnesota United. So that is the news that has kind of sorted its way through there when it comes to stuff that is actually in the barn. The Timo Werner to San Jose is gaining steam. It is not officially official yet. You know, when you look at what Tom Bogert has been staring at recently, it is kind of a bit of a negotiation in progress, and so keeping an eye on all of that. So keeping an eye on Timo Werner to San Jose. The likelihood, I was looking at percentages, and some folks were booking it at about 70% that Timo Werner was going to go to San Jose, and they're going to need somebody with Christian Espinoza now in Nashville. A couple of other things. LAFC was finalizing a deal to sign Swedish youth international midfielder Amin Boudry. Fabrizio Romano was the first one there, and he would be a U22 for LAFC. Also, the Dynamo finalizing the deal for Mati Bogusz. Cesar Luis Merlo was the first one to pick up that one. It's a $6 million, $4 million on add-ons, and a 30% sell-on. That's what Tommy Scoops is being told about Mati Bogusz. Houston has been very, very active in this offseason. But bringing in Bogusz, you're looking at $6 million, $4 million in add-ons, and a 30% sell-on fee. That's a steep price. And that was the biggest thing coming out of Houston yesterday was they were like, yeah, that much? Apparently so. So it's the biggest signing so far. Mati Bogusz right now leaning toward Houston. They just have to dot the I's and cross the T's, or the other way that you're staring at stuff. Okay, it's 9:30. And our first question for Madison Crews is going to be, for Maddie, we got to ask, how are the sinuses?
Oh gosh, not great, guys. It's okay though. We're gonna be fine. They're not great though. I will say it's rough out here. That's for sure.
And it is one of those where, and Jason is the same way. I am, but not to the degree that the two of you are. Where literally, if it's like the whiplash of conditions, you go from decent to cold as you know what, and then back to decent, and it's just that whiplash that completely and totally just blows up your sinuses. True?
Yeah, it's like it's weird because like I think the weather is just like throwing me off completely. Like it's with like the weird change that's happening like back and forth. It's all of that stuff which is so wild, and it's just annoying. It's just getting really annoying, and I'm not having a good time, but it's okay. And you know what? We're going to survive and everything will be great.
Yes. You got to see the early parts of Atlanta United in the preseason. You know, obviously, since that is right where we are, that is where we focus a lot of our energy. You and Jason had the chance to go up to the Children's Health Care of Atlanta training ground, and now we're in week 2, where hopefully players' sinuses are responding better than ours are to all of this stuff. What are you looking forward to the most coming into training camp, heading into the regular season this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, first of all, I think a lot of the stuff like was answered early on. I mean, we had the chance to talk to Latte Lath and Miguel Amaron, and then you had the chance to talk to Chris Henderson, Tata Martino, as well as Anaya Mihai. And I think it's echoing the same statements as well. It's a lot of, yes, I think you need to acknowledge what happened last season, but a lot of it is we take what happened last season and you're moving forward and you're taking that and you're trying to build and you're trying to, get better, learn from those mistakes and keep moving forward. And I think it was really cool hearing a lot of the players talk about it. I think it was really great hearing Tata talk about those things too. And I think there was a lot to take away from every single person's press conference talking about, the gearing up for the season. But as we always say, it's really early with preseason. This is always a stepping stone of kind of figuring out, what's happening, especially with the new head coach, and we won't really know exactly how Tata wants this team to play. We get an idea of how this team wants to be under Tata. That's a given. We already know the type of manager Tata is with how he wants them to play. Really, high attacking football. Like that's exactly what we're going to see, but the way things might be playing out, we won't really know until that preseason game on that Friday on the 30th. You won't really know, but I'm excited. It's fun. It was nice to get back in the swing of things though, because I was getting a little bit anxious because of my schedule not being together and stuff.
It's like, okay, so can we get things moving here so we can figure out our schedules and get everything all squared away?
I know it's weird because you go to the training ground for like a week, and like now it's like, oh well, I think they're full preseason mode. So then we're like, oh okay, well now we're back to just a regularly scheduled programming.
And I want to bring in a couple of sound bites too, especially with the coverage that we do here at SDH. You got the opportunity to catch up with Chris Henderson at his opening of the season press conference and press opportunity, and your question had to do with Atlanta United 2 and the integration of Jose Silva, Tata Martino, and all of that. Here's your question and Hendy's response from his opening season presser.
Yeah, I mean, we were fortunate to have Tata and his staff signed on early, so we've had a lot of meetings kind of leading into this year where we got our staff together leading into the college draft, super draft. And Jose, I think, had a long runway to show what he could do as he was interim coach for that team, and he did a really good job. So we're excited with his connection he has with those players. I think that team might get a little bit younger now as we start to look through what's coming through the academy. We need a pathway for these guys to develop on that team to eventually get into the first team. So we're happy, and we think Jose is going to do a really good job with that team. And we need to get a team that's a playoff team there and get experience so players can push through and put some pressure on the first team.
And I like what Chris said there about being a playoff team. Getting right to decision day and being up at Fort Finley at the end of the regular season and working at math and everything, and just the furious rush that Jose and the staff did after Steve Cook's departure to go north. But Jose Silva and the run that we had with Atlanta United 2 late last year to get right on the edge of the playoffs, I'm really intrigued with what it's going to look like with, as Chris says, probably younger guys going after a playoff berth in MLS Next Pro this season.
No, I completely agree. And that was one of the reasons why I asked him that question, is because it was announced, and it's something too to talk about as well because of the emphasis I think that there has been with the academy and with the second team, especially heading from last year and even this year now. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that Chris even said at the end of the year presser that we had as well. It's, you don't want to block those kids from those opportunities, because I think it's the one thing about it's the one thing about the academy and the system, especially with what we have set up here, because of the cap. I mean, homegrowns are a big part in a lot of these rosters, and you utilize them as much as you can. And there's so much talent, I think, in that squad that are just incredible. And it's something too that even Chris said later on, talking about like the depth, especially when you talk about wingers. He mentioned Santiago Pita as one of the players that could step up and be in that position too, along with Luke Brennan. And, two of them are homegrowns. And I think it was important for me to ask, especially because of our coverage, I think, of Atlanta United too, but also too in the grand scheme of just realizing everything going on because of the way this season is and the schedule is. We don't even know what Open Cup might look like too, and those other tournaments as well. You might be relying on a lot of those young guys to step up and really, wear the badge. And I think that's why it was important to ask. And also it's important to know as well, just from aligning to seeing how those things work. Jose Silva did an incredible job last season, and I'm really excited to see him, take the mantle again and, keep things rolling into 2026. It's going to be fun. I'm excited.
Silva ball,
guys. It's Silva ball.
And we don't know yet scheduling in MLS Next Pro, but when we do, we'll catch up with Ali Curtis and everybody at the league office and find out what they learned about last season coming into this year. You mentioned the twos, and I played the Ronan win highlight on purpose for opening kickoff. It gave us kind of a reason to go from Auckland back all the way back here. So Auckland to Atlanta. It brought to us by the letter A in the first 30 minutes.
I love it.
When you look at the younger guys from last season, that the homegrowns and that's another part of this. That let me actually tell you what. Let me play the homegrown soundbite. Then we'll get into homegrowns and younger dudes and all this kind of stuff that you're going to be looking forward to here in 26. So following up your question was Jason's question to Chris about the homegrowns and their role. Here's Chris's answer.
Yeah, I would say it's important to recognize Javier Perez, what he's doing with methodology in our academy, and then Jose and Will Bates with the second team, because they get the culture of the club, who we are. They come into the first team and they know how to act, and they understand kind of how this pathway works. So I think I'm really pleased when we have players who can come through the system and now are trying to break through. Pete is a great example, but we have many of them, Luke Brennan as well, and we're going to see more and more hopefully contributing to the first team. So I think that culture piece and the steps that they need to take is important to have fluidity throughout the club.
What he said and what you said, basically, yeah. So it's.
I know I didn't realize you were going to play that clip. I wouldn't have jumped the gun if I knew.
No, it's all good, because then it reemphasizes what we're looking for when it comes to the homegrowns and the twos and getting everybody ready for that next level. I mean, you look at Will Riley and what he was able to do. He leaves, he starts in the academy, leaves, comes back, and you see what he's been able to do when he's healthy. Cooper Sanchez got a cup of coffee with Atlanta United. First team minutes, didn't shy away from any of that. Was a part of things with the twos as well. You mentioned Santi Pita. What has it is when it comes to the younger players? All things being equal, not knowing what rosters and training camp is going to look like, who are you most looking forward to seeing in 26 take that next step? I've got a couple of names myself. I want to see if my names match yours and you go first.
Yeah, for the twos?
Yeah, for the twos. Whether it's a homegrown that is working their way up to get more minutes with the twos, or someone with the twos that we saw last year that's going to be getting more minutes we would anticipate with them this year.
It's early in the morning, John. Hold on, let me look up the roster. I know one for me is Santiago Pizza.
Right.
I think for sure he's number one for me. I think I really liked what he did, especially not only with the twos but with the academy as well. I think he really took a big step forward. Didi Cibrian's another one that I think took a big step forward too, and I think seeing both of them back on the field together, that'll be really, really, really fun. I think they'll be just really great bouncing off of each other. I will say I'm really excited to see Toto Majub back again as well. I really loved his performance in last year's season. I thought he did a phenomenal job. I love the way he plays as a defender. I think he's a very strong defender. I think he's a defender that isn't afraid to get his hands dirty, but I think he's also very, very smart the way he tackles the game. And I'm excited to see him back, and that's going to be fun. Jonathan Ransom is another one.
You go. That was one that I had.
Yeah. Yep. I think Jonathan Ransom, I think just continuing to see him grow as a keeper, especially now, especially with what we know from our conversation with Jono, he mentioned, talking to Brad in an interview. I think they did a while ago. I forget what he said it was, but he remembers talking to Brad. And he said, Brad said, I want one of you guys, talking to the homegrown goalkeepers, to take my place when I'm done. And I think that it's just a testament. And I think for Jono, it's about pushing and pushing the mantle a little bit and getting to a point where, he is getting into the question as well. And obviously you have such great goalkeepers now with the core. You have Jaden Hibbert, and then obviously you have the new signing with Lucas Oyos as well. And I think, but again, you got Jono is very, very good too. Ignacio Suarez Corey is another one that I'm really looking forward to continue to see as well. We saw him a little bit last season, and he slowly started to make his way forward. But I think those are a lot of the academy guys I'm excited to see. You also have Moises Tablante. We get to see a good old Moises as well too. Maybe doing some more backflips as well into the.
As long as he spikes the landing, that's all that matters.
I think he will. I think he's got it now. No, there's just so many players I think I'm looking forward to seeing too. And I'm excited too, because, it is going to look a lot younger. But again, it's like what we talked about before with the twos always, you need to have that balance of having those young players while also having players like a Jono Ransom, who's, a little bit more experienced in that role and being in that professional atmosphere, getting those minutes in the play, and especially trying to get into the playoffs last season were so big, I think, for so many of those young players as well. And And I think you also look at everything with these older players too. You know, they're looking to continue their career and continue to build. You have so many new players that have come in. Enzo from UNC Greensboro. I had the chance to see him in the SoCon Championship against Furman, and they are a very good team. He's a very good player. And I think you have that balance of a lot of those young academy players who are going to be creeping in. And I think you're going to get a good mix of those guys who are from the MLS draft, who are a little bit older as well, like Moises and Toto, who are going to be asked to help lead this team and help these young kids also grow as they also try to continue their careers and grow too.
Donaldson was another one that popped into my head.
Donaldson, yes, absolutely.
So you got GK Union growing with Atlanta United and twos and the homegrowns and such.
Yep.
Santi Pizza and Ignacio Suarez, really looking forward to seeing how their games grow in the season. Toto Majoub, the kid had absolutely no fear, none whatsoever.
No, he has no fear, and I love it. I love it.
And the idea of it's like, yeah, I know I'm a left center back, but sure, I'm going to go ahead and go on a 60-yard run with the ball, and I'm going to go ahead and get things moving on offense. And then not afraid to defend and not afraid to get stuck in tackles, not afraid to knock somebody off their pins, not afraid to sit there and challenge dudes who are bigger and taller than he is. And it was a joy to see his game evolve last year as well. So there are a lot of different dudes that you sit there and we always forget just how young they are.
Yes. Yes, we do.
Crazy. You sit there, you look at the DOB and you're going, wait a minute. Wow, you're only 16, 17, whatever. And how mature a Jono Ransom is. I mean, Jono playing on the international level, running smack at players in, U18 World Cups and things. No fear in that. But no, there's with the offensive players that we got to see with Didi Cibrian for me.
Didi Cibrian.
Just another one where Didi was thrown in to the lineup. It's like, okay, Jose's like, I need you to give me minutes. And then he becomes more and more comfortable with his surroundings and with what you're anticipating, especially with the older independent clubs that they would go up against in the Eastern Conference and Next Pro. And Didi Cibrian came out the other side, and he came out the other side. I think that he was one of the great success stories of last year after being basically thrown into the fire, and then he just comes out the other side with the great work that he did last year.
Yeah. Well, it's even important too for a lot of those players. Like, you saw in that and closer to the end of the regular season for the first team, there was you needed a lot of players to come help fill those gaps, especially heading to Miami. And obviously wasn't the result you wanted, but you saw like a Patrick Weah, you saw a Moises Tablante, you saw a Sal Mazzaferro. Sal had to come in, immediately. Immediately after there was an injury to Stian Gregerson. He had to check in probably earlier than anybody thought he would and had to come in and make an impact. But it's because of the work that I think Steve Cook did at the very beginning of the season, that Jose Silva continued to do throughout the rest of the season, that allowed for these players to continue to grow. And Patrick Weah is one that I talked about. I didn't mention before, but I do want to talk about as well, because I think he had a slower start to the season, but then found his rhythm and had been unstoppable ever since. And again, he's someone else that I think is looking to continue to grow, and I'm excited to see him up top there. Maybe some more chaos, maybe some more Scorpion kick goals. Who knows? We'll see what he has. We'll see what he has in store for him. Honestly, I think the challenge will be that I'm going to ask him is like, so you going to make another goal of the year, or what's happening? But no, I think that's what it's what the twos are for. And I think this year, especially because of the roster you have and because of the playmakers you have and the experience of these young kids that you have. I mean, Santi Pita, Didi Cibrian were starting and getting heavy minutes towards the end of last season. And that's going to be huge, especially heading into the beginning of this year, because they're already ready to go. They're already ready to go and get the start. So once we get the schedule, once we know a little bit more about what this season's going to look like for MLS Next Pro, they're going to be ready to go. Atlanta United, I think, is in a really good position, especially with MLS Next Pro, to, maybe breach the playoffs this year.
Can we just say please? Can that happen? Just please let there be postseason involving Atlanta United too. I think that would be a really cool thing for all of the fans, for the front office, obviously, because of all of the effort that they have invested in the twos and the academy. It shows you that your academy and what we're seeing, with what Javier has been able to piece together and looking at talent and such. But all of that time where you've been banging on the door, and then you finally get the door open, that's one of those things for me that I'm really looking forward to when it comes to all this stuff. I'm just saying.
I agree.
When it comes to, I'm going to go back to the first team.
Yeah.
And kind of break it down a little bit line by line. And with everyone that is now in camp and such. And you look at the roster, and obviously at the back, you mentioned Lucas Hoyos, you mentioned Jaden Hibbert. Those are your only two keepers in camp. You figure it's going to be a 1 or a 1A or a 1A or a 1B, however you phrase it. It's going to be open competition. Jaden gets to learn from Lucas. Lucas is that experienced dude that you had for just these reasons of multiple competitions and such. Defenders. Right now, the defenders, and this is just how it's listed by the club. Amador Baracol, who's on loan till the end of fiscal year, end of June. DCQ, Matt Edwards, Ronald Hernandez, Stian Gregerson, Thomas Jakob, and A.M. Mihai and Caden Moore. When you look at that position group, what sticks out to you when it comes to those defenders that are in camp?
Oof. I really am excited to see Tomas. I'm really excited to see him because of the way he plays. And also the added thing that I think it kind of fell under the radar in the presser is that he can play the 6. He can go in and kind of play that position. He can play that more defensive midfielder position like Bartosz Slisz played. And so that can also help fill in some of those gaps, especially when you're looking at what the roster might start to look like, especially with other things too. It also helps, especially when you come into a pinch and you need him to come in and step up and be that position. But Tomas is someone I really am excited to see play. I'm really excited to see him once things get going, how he fits into this team. I'm really excited. DCQ, I'm excited to see him continue to grow as well. I am also very excited to see Ronald Hernandez back as well. When that was re-signed, I think it's so important to have a player who has been with the team for so long, especially when you're filling that role of, I think, the veteran as well as the player who's been there for a long time and knows the culture and knows what Atlanta United's supposed to be. And Ronald Hernandez knows that. And especially with Brad Guzan retiring, you have a lot of, Miguel Amaron obviously knows how the foundation was of Atlanta United. I was here since the very beginning. He's someone who can be that too. But I think having a player who's been because Ronald's now the longest standing player in it for Atlanta United right now. And I think that is important. And his leadership, I think, on and off the field kind of goes unnoticed sometimes. And I think it's important to bring up because he is one of those big voices in the locker room. I mean, Miguel talked about it. I asked him about it as well. And he said it too. Ronald is admired and loved by everybody in the club, not just on the field or off the field in the locker room, but everywhere. And that means something. That is going to help, especially trying to get this team together and get things rolling. And I mean, it feeds back to something that Anea said, especially talking about Tata with everything else, something that Tata was saying, they need to put their corazón, their heart, into whatever they're doing on the pitch. And I mean, I don't think anyone else, if you tell me anybody else about a heart of Atlanta United, I always think of Ronald Hernandez. So I think that's why it's important to have a player like him in that area, in that position as well. And also too, because of his versatility. I think he can play wherever he's asked of. I mean, I think Ronnie even said it last season. He was playing as in the right back role. That's his natural position. And it was funny because he's always been asked to, play every other area, but Ronald doesn't care. He's like, I'll do it. He's like, whatever helps the team, I'm in.
And one of the things, and I would ask, and this is more for folks that are, they get to watch the occasional video on social media or what have you. Every single shot, I swear, every single shot of Ronald Hernandez, when it's just a casual shot or a cameo or whatever, it's just a, one of those team integrated photo things. Ronald is always grabbing the crest. I swear, every single piece of video I see, every single clip, every single photo, when it's Ronald is a casual shot, Ronald stares right into the camera and he's grabbing that crest and he practically is yanking it off the jersey every single time that we get to see Ronald. And when you've got the guy that can do literally, if you want Ronald to be a second striker, he'd be like, "Yep, all right, sign me up, dial me up." dial it in, wherever you need. You need me to save PKs. I'm in. Just give me the keeper jersey and the big bopper gloves, and I'm ready to go. But I mean, Ronald knows what the crest means, and he lives and dies by that crest. And to have someone that versatile is always clutch. The sale of Edwin Mosqueda to Santa Fe creates another U22 opening. Then there were the rumors of Elias Baez from San Lorenzo at left back for left back competition. No update on that. So you're looking at left back with Pedro and DCQ and the competition there. You're looking for Matt Edwards to be healthy to help you out at center back, because Stian Gregerson, you want him to be healthy for you for a full 34, but that right now hasn't happened. So you need the backup there with Matt Edwards that's attached to everything. I agree with you. I'm looking for Tomas Jakob. I want to see how he integrates at right back and what he gets to learn from everybody else. Midfield. And this is, once again, it's just position group by the club. This is not necessarily what their active duty is.
Yeah.
Miggy Alzate, Jay, Saba, Alexi. We can skip Mosqueda now, considering he's out the door. So it's 10 midfielders. Tristan, Santi Pita, Will Riley, Cooper Sanchez, Aiden Torres. So when I mention those 10 to you, what sticks out?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that sticks out to me is I think the first one is Saba, because I think, Saba has been, I think, a player that I've really loved watching since I joined you guys and covering the team back in 2024. I think Saba is an electric player. I think he is so electric. He gives his heart and soul, I think, whenever he's out onto the field. And I think last season, obviously, I don't think was the best. But, I mean, I think you can say that about everything. I mean, obviously,
did Saba push too hard, you think, considering that he wasn't a guy, he was the guy, and so I think that Saba might have been pressuring himself too much last season, and it kind of showed, and you could see that he was grinding a lot last year.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I do think, in the sense that I think it started to affect everybody with what was happening last season. Even, I mean, you talked to Miguel as well as with Emmanuel Latte-Lath, and they kind of said the same thing. They were all in disbelief, with what happened last year. But I think, again, it's about not running from the mistakes of last season. You have to take what happened last season. You have to learn from it. You have to understand what happened, and then that way you get better moving forward. And so I think Saba this season, I'm excited to see maybe that new perspective for him, and where he fits there as well, because, and especially with how the lineup might shape out. The one thing that I found really interesting, and this is something that Tata Martino, and it's something that I've talked about too, there's been this narrative, I think, shifting around, talking about how Alexi Miranchuk and Miguel Amaron are not compatible and they can't play on the field together. And it's something that I think is, I disagree completely, because, and it's something Tata even came out and said too. He said, this is a quote, I have it from SDH too. He said, I think they're perfectly complementary. Miguel can help with the buildup and with the finishing. Alexi is the ability to provide assists. That's the combination that they want to see. And that's something I don't think we got a lot of last season. It felt a little at times, but when you saw it click, it clicked, and it clicked really nicely. And I think that's that's the thing here with a player like Alexi. I mean, he's so intelligent when it comes to the game. His passing, his technical quality. I mean, his ability on the ball and his ability to read the game is absolutely fantastic. I think I sat there some games and would watch him play a ball, and I'd be like, that is brilliant. Like, that is so incredible. What matters now, though, is just, as much as the team around them, it's the structure to allow all those qualities to translate into results. And that's what Tata's going to do. Tata's going to do that. He knows what Miguel can do. He knows what Alexi can do. He knows what Latte-Lath can do. He knows what all those pieces can do. And it's about figuring out the best way and the best structure to allow for every single one of those players to continue to perform, to build off of each other. And I think that's what's important too, especially with those two players. And adding Latte-Lath into the mix as well. I think you want to get those players combining too. And I think it'll be really interesting to see where that sets up. Because, I mean, it wouldn't shock me personally if you see maybe a situation where it is almost like, maybe like you get almost like two forwards up top, and it is Latte-Lath. Maybe you have him sit and you're just there having him do what he needs to do up top. Maybe it's Miguel to his right, maybe with Alexi sitting underneath, but that doesn't mean that Miguel has to stay there. I think maybe you have a situation where it is, hey, if Alexi's carrying the ball forward, Miguel takes that spot underneath there. Or it's vice versa, whatever is happening there. But, it's what Tata said, Miguel is very, very good in the build-up play and in finishing. And Alexi is the ability to kind of play the puppet master a little bit. He can kind of draw back and, connect the dots and get things going. And I think that was another big takeaway for me for talking to Tata Martino about those two players specifically, because again, I think the narrative has been that, it's one or the other, when I don't think it has to be. You have two aces. Why not use two aces?
I mean, shoot, a pair of aces is better than, a 9 high hand when you're playing 5.
Exactly. So I love what Tata said about it too, because I think it's realizing, you have so much talent and you have so much talent on this roster. And it is about just finding the right structure, finding the right things that will bring out those qualities in those players. And then you'll see results as they start to translate too.
All right. The other name that I'm looking forward to is a healthy Jay Fortune.
Yes.
And
yes.
Still cursing Ervenar and the Saudi Arabian national team at any given opportunity. I want to see how a healthy Jay Fortune integrates possibly that second 6. If you're going to do the 4-2-3-1, have Alzate and Jay or something like that.
It's so unfortunate. Chris talked about it, and he's like, it was really unfortunate, and I think it was too, because Jay was on a hot streak. He was killing it last season, and it's so unfortunate how it happened, because he was playing so well, and it just kind of it's just one of those unfortunate things that happens. But I mean, I believe from seeing some posts from Jay on Instagram, he was back doing some training to an extent. I'm not exactly sure what that looked like, but he did post something about him training, so it looks like he's getting back to form, which is awesome, and that's always great to see for Jay. I'm excited to see him this season, and that step for him and getting back onto the field, because he was someone that I think really shined last season. And I think even from talking to Abe, it was really funny. I think he was still like one of the leading categories in our like player of the match for like a good while.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like I think second or third with what it looked like for a while. And he had so many great games, and it was really unfortunate, obviously, with the injury, but I'm happy to see him get back and slowly start finding his way back onto the pitch. I don't necessarily know when we might get the chance to see him again, especially, when it comes to starting or getting those moments. But I think for right now, especially for an injury like that, it's just about taking the time to get back healthy and, finding yourself again. It's something Chris talked about, that's a big part of it too, because we talk about it from a physical standpoint. It's about working your way back up, finding those muscles again, finding the rhythm again. It's also a mental thing too. It's a mental thing as well. And, overcoming that too. But Jay is a phenomenal player. Jay is a great player. I'm really excited to see him back, especially getting things going again. I'm very excited to see Jay this season.
Added time with Madison Crews as we were past the top of the hour here in hour number 2. Position group last. Forwards, you mentioned Latte Lot. Ashton Gordon has been loaned to Chattanooga FC. That's going to make for some interesting bedfellows with that matchup in the next pro coming up this season. So the ones left on the table, Luke, Jamal, and Cayman Togashi. What sticks in your head?
Mm-hmm. I think Luke Brennan. I think Luke Brennan had a really, really good season last season. And I think I'm looking forward to seeing him continue to grow, really continue to push and continue just to cause waves. Because it's something that I asked Anea, Chris, as well as Tata about in that presser was competition and how important competition is, and especially to a team. And Anea said it best. It's, it does a great thing, competition. It pushes you. It gets you forward. It's going to help motivate you. But also, too, at the end of the day, every single player wants the same thing. They want Atlanta United to win. They want Atlanta United to do well. They want to get Atlanta United back to where it was. That was the message. And I think, but competition is so important. And I think when you have a player like Luke Brennan, who is pushing for minutes and who did do a lot last season, it creates a lot. And I think for Luke, it's just continuing to push, continuing to be better, continuing to just keep pushing and pushing and pushing for minutes. And I think for Latte Lath, it's the same thing. We talked to him very first day back at training, and it's one thing for both of them. I think Manu, obviously, I think a lot of people, no one had the best season last season, and I think that's something we should all around go. It was not the best season at all. It wasn't a season I think any of us expected. But I think that's the better way to say this. But I think the one thing for Manu is I think the break is so important, and people forget like Latte Lath was thrown in like maybe didn't have had what, maybe not even a year and a half off, was going for a year and a half.
Yeah, because you're going full blown in the EFL Championship, then you get transferred, then you have to continue and play a full season in Major League Soccer. So
Because
you have all that.
it wasn't like Manu didn't come in either till like it was like maybe the last couple of weeks of preseason. So like immediately, it's not like there's a small break between that. Like you're in preseason, you got to keep going. And so you had that break, and there was no break. But now he finally got an off season where he's able to relax, able to spend time with family, able to kind of mentally reset, not really think about anything. Now you get an opportunity to get a full preseason under your belt, a full preseason to get to know this team, to get to understand those playmakers, to get to understand a little bit more about Miguel and with Alexi and maybe what Tata wants that role to be. And, for him specifically, but you get that time to reset. And I think that's really important. It's, again, something that we don't talk about when it comes to the mental side of the game and how important some of those resets are, especially when it comes to playing. And I think that's important too. And, he talked about it as well, how important that time was just to be able to breathe and reset. And now you're back into focus. Now you're back into training, getting things going and, get things rolling. And I think those are the two that I'm curious to see, which is Luca and Manu. I think they're going to be really interesting to watch going forward. And then two, got to bring in Cayman because, again, listen, Cayman, I think, is such a great player too. And I think, again, he's another veteran that can really help a lot of these young guys step up. And also, I think Cayman is a phenomenal player as well. And I'm excited to see him wherever he is, whether it's with first team, helping the first team out in those moments, or coming down, helping this twos a little bit too.
And just ask FC Cincinnati what they think about Will Riley and Cayman Togashi. That's all I got to say.
Seriously.
All right. So what's next up for you and Jason at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, sinuses permitting?
Right now I think we're just hanging out. We're going to continue to cover the team.
You're chilling like villains basically until your sinuses.
Yeah, chilling like villains basically. We're getting things rolling, or trying to get into full swing obviously this week. And then you have, wait, sorry, I was looking at my calendar. It's still on December because I was fully confused as to why. I was like, whoa, I don't have a new calendar. That's my mistake. I should get one. Anyway, actually, this is my calling card. What calendar theme should I get, guys? I need to know. It was Ted Lasso last time, so I got to get a different one. But you have this week, obviously, for preseason, where the team's in Miami. I didn't actually know until I went on Instagram this morning and I saw I think Atlanta United posted like little palm trees, and I was like, oh, that seems so nice right now.
You're like, wait a minute.
That seems so nice right now. I wish I was in Miami. I wish. But then you have next week, and then you have the preseason game. So we'll be gearing up, getting ready for that one. I unfortunately will not be there at the preseason game.
What?
Well, I do have a prior commitment with Georgia State. I will be doing their Women Excel panel that I did last season. So I'll be doing it this year as well. Always a great event for Georgia State. It's basically a panel talking about some women who are leading, especially when it comes to sports, whether it's from a broadcast side or creative marketing, more on the law side, agent side, medical side. It's an important opportunity, I think, to spread that and spread the love of that. It also, too, gives an opportunity for a lot of these young athletes who are within Georgia State to maybe, learn a little bit from these incredible women, and also, get a chance to network and get opportunities and get internships. And so it's always fun. I'm very happy that Gene Hill and Georgia State want me to do it again because it was very fun last year, and I'm happy they're asking me to be the moderator again. So I'm very excited for that. But I will be watching from my car before the thing starts, and I will be keeping updates, and I would expect updates from all of you guys as well. So
it will be just want to make sure that your sinuses behave and that everything is good for that. As always, it's great to kind of go deep dive into what you think about the twos and the homegrowns as we get ready here in preseason with the players in Florida not having to deal with any of the crap that we're going to be having to deal with this year.
They're living the life over there. Well, they're gonna be working. They're gonna be working, practice, whatever. But they're also in Miami, and it's probably really nice over there right now. And it's cold over here.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Right there with you. Go hang upside down, or go put your humidifier or whatever. Or go put a towel over your head, or go do whatever you need to do. Go, I don't know, put some coffee in front of you. Maybe the steam from the coffee will help out. I don't know.
Yeah, I did an iced coffee this morning, so like, it's maybe a hot coffee is in my future later, maybe decaf, maybe later.
You are never decaf. I hate
No,
to
I'm
break.
not.
You
No,
are
I'm
never.
not.
Maddie, it's always great to catch up with you, and obviously, don't be a stranger because it's going to go at about 9,000 miles an hour very, very quickly. So it's
Oh yeah.
great to have you here in the morning show, even if your sinuses are rebelling.
No, it was great to come back on to talk shop, all things, United.
All right, be good. We'll see you soon.
Awesome. I will chat with y'all later. Have a good morning.
There goes Maddie, and Maddie's going to go probably get like a massive hot cup of coffee and just kind of stare at it and let the steam work its magic. So yeah, Maddie's sinuses and Jason's sinuses, they're not behaving, and mine are like a decent third, but it's the shock that comes with me. So that's the issues that we're dealing with here. Hour number 2 here on SDH AM, and Maddie went added time just because of the deep dives that we were able to do with all the things involving Atlanta United, the twos, the homegrowns, all the stuff. So very, very cool that we were able to do that with them in Florida as they get ready to come back and be a part of activities on next Friday, with the Lexington SC coming to town. Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground that will be streamed at atlutd.com/live. And we're going to be doing SDH before the stream of the game. So we'll be kind of like your pseudo pregame show heading into that next Friday up in Marietta. And it's going to be fun to see everybody and see what's going on with Lexington SC and with Atlanta United. So that kind of sets the table up a little bit for us here in hour number 2. Daniel Sperry, I kind of told him 10:30 considering what happened yesterday, and that seemed to work for the DAD. And we will find out if that does in fact work and if he brings his line producer with him. So we'll find out what that looks like. Once again, new official ownership change in percentage. And so what does this mean? What is the, what of the percent? What has the makeup of the ownership group meant in the past? What does the new makeup and percentages mean for the future? And how does this compare to what's going on across the river with what we're seeing with the Longs, the Mahomes, and Kansas City Current? That's coming up with Daniel Sperry. Won't be as long as it was yesterday because of the breaking news. The breaking news happened yesterday with the ownership switch percentage, and I'm like, so you want to come back? And so he's coming back. So Daniel Sperry in the hour, don't know when, thinking 10:30 in about 20 minutes from now, and so that's kind of where we're at. Okay, a couple of other things this morning that are going on right now. Houston, and we had talked about this as possibly happening. It is now officially official. Outside of Matty Bogusch, they have signed the former USL Championship Player of the Year, Nick Marcanic, on loan from Club Deportivo Castellón for the 26th season. 110 first-team appearances, 45-10, 3 clubs, Castellón, Charleston Battery, and FC Cincinnati. When he was with Charleston in 24, 28 goals, new league record in the regular season. So he's on loan from CD Deportivo Castellón in Spain through the 26th season. Quote from Pat Onstad. And so began 25 with Castellón, 2 goals in 24 matches, including a late equalizer against Albacete Balompi, April 4. Played the full 90 in the Copa del Rey match against Atletico Antoniano. 74 appearances at Charleston, and 10 assists, helping the team win the Eastern Conference title to get to the championship game. 30 all-competition goals in 24, passed the previous club record of 27 from Paul Conway, recorded 6 multi-goal games in 24, and a hat trick against Orange County. 10 of Marcanic's 30 season goals were match winners. So Nick Marcanic on loan, the 26-year-old from Bourbonnais, Illinois, from Club Deportivo Castellón from the Segunda Division, is going to be with Houston coming up this season on loan. So we'll keep an eye on Marcanic. But yes, very, very busy off season for Houston Dynamo. And we're just going to keep it on the field when we're discussing that with the very, very busy off season. So I want to go through and look at the transactions that they have had this season. And there are folks that are looking at the 5 top signings and stuff like that. So sections, MLS. Let's see if we have everybody. And we mentioned the Allende. We mentioned the Allende move yesterday as that happened during the show. So for Houston, if you add Matty Bogusz and you add Nick Marcanic in, Logan Erb, a keeper, is a homegrown from NC State. Homegrown Reese Miller, defender out of Virginia. Agustin Buzat, the midfielder from Vélez Sarsfield, comes in on a transfer. Lucas Halter, defender, Botafogo, on a transfer. I'm hoping that that Botafogo uses the funds as they're supposed to. Guilherme from Santos on a transfer. Ache on a free, last played at Toluca. Then you add in Matty Bogusz. Then you add in Nick Marcanic. That's what you're getting from Houston right now. Their off-season, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 out from Houston in the off-season. Anner, Owadesu, Bartlow, Duenas, Franco Escobar, Halliday, Kowalczyk, Damian Lowe, Sergio Santos, Gabe Siegel, picked up by DC United in the re-entry draft, Daniel Steris, Andrew Tarbell, Junior Urso, Kieran Sargent to San Diego FC, Brooklyn Reigns to New England in a trade. That's what Houston's done this year. 15 out, 8 in. 15 out, 8 in for Houston. So that's kind of where they are in all of this. 15 out, 8 in for Houston. So they have not been shy. Pat Onstad has not been shy in the offseason one bit about what has been going on with Houston this season. So right now, the top 5 moves that have been listed by Soccer America so far: Ezekiel Alado to Philadelphia, Michael Ua and Ty Barabo leave in the offseason, Ghanaian striker, $4.5 million club record fee from Bromma Poikarna in the Swedish top flight. That's listed at number 5. Mikhail to Inter Miami. We'll get into what Messi and friends have done after re-signing Allende in a bit. So Mikhail to Inter Miami. That's huge to help them out on the back line. Barabo to DC United. Heading to DC in a cash transfer worth up to $4.6 million. Benteke, remember, his contract was not renewed. They needed a striker. They brought in Barabo. Dane St. Clair to Messi and friends. Christian Espinoza to Nashville, who was never supposed to be a free agent. He was never supposed to be a free agent. Someone forgot to trigger the option. So he was a free. Christian Espinoza gets picked up by Nashville. That wasn't supposed to happen. And so now San Jose's having to fish, and it looks like they might be getting Timo Werner. It would be interesting to see how Werner would fit into these top 5 moves. Robin Lod to Chicago, Zimmerman to Toronto, Justin Hack to the Galaxy, Thiago to Orlando City, Reguilon to Inter Miami, Sean Johnson to DC. That's listed as a top 10 so far this year. St. Louis also this morning signing Conrad Vollum, so they get to keep him as one of their center backs. Just to give you an idea once again about Messi and friends, Rodrigo de Paul in officially, now he turns into a DP. Sergio Reguilon, Facundo Mura on a free, Reguilon on a free, Dane St. Clair on a free, Mikhail on a loan from Palmeiras, David Ayala on one of those intra-league cash deals, and Allende signs on the line that is dotted. Out, Pico, Sailor, Cello Wagan, and then Rocco Rios Novo, the loan expires there. Baltazar Rodriguez, Alan Obando, William Yarborough, Sergio Busquets, and Jordi Alba retired. So you have all of that, and then Rocco ends up, if I remember correctly, they re-upped Rocco, I believe. And so they did not exercise the option back in December, but then I think they jumped back on it. So you got Rocco that was a part of all the things involving Inter Miami last year. So you were wondering what it was going to look like. And so now it is Messi and friends wanting to once again continue their stuff. And so now, once again, Rocco Rios Novo is, a part with Messi and friends. After not having the first part renewed, they signed him independently, basically. So it's like, no, we won't, but yeah, we want to bring you back. So that was how that ended up. And that's what you're staring at involving the moves so far. Like I said, adding to what happened this morning in Major League Soccer, and you're staring at a very, very interesting offseason on a bunch of different fronts. Houston's spending a lot of money. Houston is dropping a lot of money to try to bring in all this talent. Like we said, 15 out, 8 in, but those 8 that they're bringing in, whether it's the bogus deal where you're dropping a lot, Ache, where I imagine you're paying him a lot, all of this intrigue that is coming in, very, very interesting across the board to see what it's going to look like here coming up in a bit. Local news, USL League One, just to give you an idea. Shannon Gomez, Trinidadian defender, signs with Tormenta. Their media day is tomorrow. We are efforting a presence out of Statesboro tomorrow to hang out and let everybody know what's going on there in League One. It's been a busy offseason for Tormenta, too. They've really had a lot of inbounds and outbounds this year. And so I'm interested to see what Mark McKeever does in full season number 1 for South Georgia Tormenta. Remember, McKeever was only supposed to be down there to help out the younger talent. He was supposed to be helping out with the academy. And then when Ian Cameron departs and they're like, can you kind of take over? Then it was a race for South Georgia Tormenta to get into the playoff picture last year, and McKeever had them on a run. So now it's the first full season for him there, and we'll see what it looks like. But they signed Shannon Gomez pending Federation League approval after 4 years at San Antonio FC. And so he comes in getting ready for Media Day tomorrow. Season opener March the 8th in Statesboro at Tormenta Stadium against Spokane. So Shannon Gomez is up and running, and Tormenta is in their 10th season. So you get to celebrate Tormenta X, kind of like SDH. We've been with each other the entire time. So it's been fun to see everything continue to evolve the way that it has with Tormenta and what they're doing. Okay, so now let me catch up on questions here. Soleil, David wants to know if the Soleil Washington signing is short term. Oh, so she and Riley Jackson can start the Atlanta franchise. I don't know the length of the deal, but we are efforting Soleil drifting in and seeing what we can do with catching up with there. So, Rope, so hopefully that Maddie answered your question about Jay. And yes, David, I was going to leave that. I'm going to leave the off the field stuff off the field, and I'm just going to bite my tongue. That's all I'm going to do. David mentions one of our OGs, Glenn Davis, and discretion being the better part of valor. I'm just going to bite my tongue. I'm just going to say it's disappointing, and we'll leave it at that. And I'm kind of underselling that whole thing. All right, gossip, rumor, and innuendo, getting into everything else that's going on today. We got Champions League we've got to get into today. All of those matchups, all the things, anything else on your mind as we go, and all the news that's fit to print before we depart at 11:05 and then come back tomorrow. Because tomorrow, see if we can catch up with the busiest man in the Northeast with Dylan Butler, efforting something out of Statesboro because it's their media day tomorrow, and also, also efforting out of the South Pacific and the Oceania Pro League. Looks like we're going to be catching up with our friends at Vanuatu United as a part of the show tomorrow as well. Like I said, OFC Pro League is probably going to be our opening kickoff just because it's the first time that the first league and the first steps and all this kind of stuff, and we want to see how everything grows and evolves. So opening kickoff moments probably going to be reserved for the OFC Pro League just as they kind of get their legs about them here in season number 1. Okay, the activity today, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, brought to us by our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. And because of the geography, you got some earlier games than normal. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Brought to you by Fanatis. That link is important. fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps them out, helps us out, helps you out, adding more matches to everything you're already watching. With Fanatis, you get all the BNs, plus Tigo Sports, plus CATV, a lot of the action in South and Central America. You get Teise, matches from Argentina. They had the Copa de Argentina last night. Estudiantes taking on a team from Primera C, whose stadium is named after a baker. Unfortunately, I think it was played at Bonfield. It was not played at the stadium for Ituzaingó, I think. Hang on. Who was it? Estudiantes played last night. Oh, crud. Ituzaingó. Thank you. Club Atlético Ituzaingó, with their stadium that was named after a 1980s baker. Once again, soccer over there, people. So you get all the BNs. You get Teise, Liga 1 Max Pro, TVV, CDO, CDO2, for the fans, all the things. All the leagues from across South America, Libertadores, Sudamericana, all in one place. One subscription, one home. Fanati, 7tz.co/soccer down here. Now, Champions League. 12:45 and 3. It's Bodo Glimt, Manchester City, Copenhagen, and Napoli. FS2 at 12:30. The league that we don't talk about, they got a game at 12:30. It's being simulcast on Fox Deportes. 2 simulcasting Bodo Glimt, Manchester City, Real Madrid, and Monaco. Same for Unimas. FA Cup at 2:40. Salford City, Swindon Town at 2:40. Fox ONE has that same league match that we were talking about. English Championship, 3 games in the midweek. 3, 6, 9 matches in Champions League. FoxSports.com at 12:30. The league we don't talk about. DAZN, Coppa Italia Femenina at noon, Milan Fiorentina. A-League, 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., so that's already passed, and that's what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. We'll go into juice boxes more in a bit. Now, as promised, we get to see what's going on. Oh, he brought his line producer. Daniel Sperry, look at the line producer. Nicely done, sir.
Thanks, man. Sorry, my audio may not be the greatest this morning, but
it's all good. It's all good.
If I put on the headset, she's just going to grab it and mess with it and play with it, so.
That's fantastic. So yesterday, I was explaining to folks what was going on, and literally as the show ends or shortly thereafter, news comes out of Sporting about the ownership change, and it's the percentage that changes, and it's it's rearranging of who's in charge and by how much, and so that was what was going on. You had the selling of the majority stake. Yep. And it was to get the numbers correct. The principal owners, including the Illig family, agreed to sell their majority stake to Peter Maluk. And Maluk is president and CEO of Creative Planning, a wealth advisory firm in Overland Park. Owned a minority stake in the team since 22, investment in the Royals. And then Sporting says, when they were asked about Maluk, quote, in a statement, Peter Maluk is now the majority shareholder of the club, end quote. So Illig family, and if I'm wrong in any of this, feel free to correct. So the Illig family is going to continue to manage the day-to-day, representing the team on the league's board of governors. The sale, which gives Maluk majority but not sole ownership, values the franchise at roughly $700. Last year it was valued at $650, which is middle of the road for the 30 franchises in MLS. Do I have it good so far?
You've got it good so far.
So in the grand scheme of things, we go from Illig and Maluk to now Maluk and others. How does this, I guess when it comes to the setup now with the ownership, how does this rearrange things? Is this just the infusion of capital and someone sitting there going, yeah, I want in, yeah, I want out? What was the dynamic here, do you think?
I mean, it's just pretty much just an infusion of capital. I think, Maluk became a partner in 22, 24, early 24, maybe late 23. I think we finally found out about his involvement. Name was very quietly placed in places because he's a pretty, at least national wealth figure. I mean, he's on CNBC regularly, kind of does a lot of wealth management podcasts. I mean, he is out there. He is not a billionaire that hides in any way, shape, or form. And so he did keep his involvement, and even in the Royals has been relatively quiet until now, with people talking to him and asking him about things. Over 24, he started. There was some rumblings that he was kind of starting to put in a little bit more money. I want to say that there are there's some interesting stories that one day will hopefully see the light of day about his involvement in helping with what in 24, if you remember, Peter Vermees talked about this big budget and getting this kind of discretionary budget, and something that he hadn't really worked with before. Maluk had a hand in that, and I think there's just been an itch in general. I mean, this is he is a sports guy. He is a proud Kansas Citian. He went to University of Kansas for almost all of his degrees, graduate, goodness, I'm blanking on the right term, but his basic bachelor's degrees and his postgraduate work, his undergrad. There we go. And so he's a Kansas City guy. Okay, let's get.
Upset about terminology.
You're okay. You want this back?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, there you go.
There it is.
I know she hasn't been feeling good today, so it's the fun. But I mean, this is a guy that like loves Kansas City, and I thought it was interesting. Like the Kansas City Sports Business Journal was asking him, are you going to keep the team in Kansas City? And I think that's a no-brainer. That's not in danger of happening here. I don't think the Illigs ever would have allowed this to happen. Over time, ownership when Sporting Club, which is now known as On Goal LLC, bought the team from Lamar Hunt and the Hunt family. There was a few families involved in overtime, as some of those owners have passed, and the ownership shares have been kind of further diluted through those families and stuff like that. So really, the Illigs were a very, very heavy majority owner. And Maluk has come along, and he's promising a significant injection of cash. And I don't know that he wants to oversee the day-to-day yet. I think he probably, as a majority shareholder, will want to kind of take a little bit more of the landscape eventually in MLS before he maybe has a day-to-day control of it. I mean, he still has other business ventures that he's in charge of, and a lot of philanthropic work around Kansas City as well. So he's got a lot on his plate. So it doesn't surprise me that the Illigs, who have been on the competition committees and a lot of these boards at the Board of Governors level for a long time, that they're keeping some continuity there for a while as he kind of gets the lay of the land, and maybe some of the other plates that he's probably juggling. The Kansas City he's part of the Kansas City Royals ownership group. They are working on a stadium site selection, because they will not be down in Kaufman, beyond 2030, just like the Chiefs. So they have the actual issue, which is degrading concrete. And so they are on a time clock to get that worked out. So there's some ownership work on that side that he's probably involved in. So I think it's good. I think it's par for the course too, in terms of just like nothing about the day-to-day is going to change. And I think that's been Sporting's push all along, is nothing is changing about structure, about anything like that. All that's changing is someone's money is more in control, and someone is putting more money into this team in general.
And I was going to ask about the financial impact of this, because there have been times where Sporting has not been shy about dropping cash to bring in talent. And so you would kind of lean to the idea of, okay, that's not going to change with this new ownership group, who is now a more public infusion of capital than in the past. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it'll definitely increase. He has made it very clear that I think in the interview he did with my colleague at the newspaper, he said straight up, like 99.5% of what I care about is winning, and we're going to do whatever can make that happen. I have a good feeling that he was pretty involved in the hiring process for David Lee. So I would assume he trusts and is good with that person in charge. And so I think, we talked about being able to build on what will happen this year, and the build and the growth that they're hoping to experience, and really kind of injecting a lot of cash in it, coming for the upcoming seasons. The mini season at the beginning of 27 and the real season that starts in mid 27. So I would expect Sporting Kansas City to be a pretty hot topic of conversation when it comes to transfers in the next coming 4 or 5 windows, really, just because of, one, that they need to, and two, I think for the most part that verbally has been promised by both ownership and those in charge on the soccer side. So
the other reason I wanted to kind of bring you in is kind of off of that discussion, what you're seeing with Current, with the Longs and the Mahomes and their investment. The Long family, we mentioned briefly yesterday about they're going MCO and picking up HB Kuge and just pulling the women's side away from the men's and women's side of that particular franchise.
Mm-hmm.
So the level of investment of the Long/Mahomes group in KC Current, it is independent stadium. It's a part of $1 billion live, work, play kind of a thing. Was that the plan?
Yeah, there's quite a lot of infrastructure that's going in around the KC Current Stadium. That area of downtown has, by and large, been neglected for decades until the KC Currents had, guys, what are we not? Like, this is literally waterfront property, and the river is not going to rise that much anymore to, flood. It would take centuries level floods to impact that area. And unfortunately, maybe due to some science and global warming, we're not getting as much rain around here for those kind of things to happen anymore. So, it's one of those that area has really been built up. I mean, it's kind of stunning to go from where on earth are they fitting the stadium? Oh, this is where they're fitting the stadium. And then you have these giant dirt parking lots and gravel parking lots that they had forever. And they're like, we're not paving them. Don't worry, we're building here. And I'm like, okay. And now it's like full on high rises right next to it and right next to the stadium and across the street. So you're just kind of, it's kind of stunning to see the growth and development that's happened around there just since they said we want to build a stadium here. There's phenomenal hotels, bars, restaurants that have gone in around that spot. So it's that whole area has been a big kind of infusion of an all-encompassing stadium village, kind of, if you will, that the Longs have put in. And the Longs have a significant amount of capital, and they have their own kind of a same, maybe not at the level of creative planning. Creative planning is a made like 100 billion type of asset management company. And I know the Longs have a lot of money that are involved in their asset companies and stuff like that, but it's not quite at that level yet. But they're also a little bit younger than Peter. So, they've got time to get up to that level, I guess. But it's interesting to have two business people, business families, businessmen, businesswomen, if you will, that in this city that, I think a lot of people have looked at what the Current are doing for the NWSL as, oh my gosh, this has to be done. And I wouldn't be surprised if people involved with Sporting Kansas City are saying, look what they're doing. They're throwing money at everything to make it, and people have bought in. It's a huge cultural thing here to be part of the Kansas City Current and be a fan in Kansas City, and soccer is a part of that fabric. Why aren't we doing the same? And I think Maluk was probably seeing some of that stuff and saying, all right, I would like to do some of this, so let's start doing some of it.
Is there any concern on any level that the stadia are too small considering the growth of the game? The Children's Mercy, I think, is at 18, and CPKC, Canadian Pacific Kansas City Stadium, CPKC, is only 11.5.
Yeah.
Is there any concern that this was an undersell when you were trying to build these two stadia in the first place, and that they do need to be larger? Or are you trying to create demand with the capacities that are there?
I think there's a bit of wanting to create demand, especially for the KC Current Sporting. KC's side, you have to remember this stadium was initially built in 2011, so 18.5 seated. That stadium can get up to 22 with standing room only. And let me tell you, when it's 22, that place is rocking. It is incredible. It's been a while since it's been like that. And so they do have an opportunity. I think they've said a while ago, and back when I first started covering the team, I think they were kind of in their heyday in the middle of they sell out every single game. Like, it's not a question of whether or not they have 19,000 people in the stadium. It's a question of whether or not they got over to 20 on the Sporting KC side. And they have since kind of dwindled on that. But their stance was there is an expansion part that is built into that stadium eventually. That would be basically adding a second deck on the west side of the stadium. That, I believe, I was told was not going to be triggered until they had like a waiting list of season ticket holders of a certain amount, which was, I think, 5,000 to 10,000, I think, somewhere in that range. So I would say they have a contingency plan for that. I do think for the market of Kansas City, that the Children's Mercy Park, well, I can't say Children's Mercy Park anymore because it won't be Children's Mercy Park at some point, but anymore. So Sporting Park is what they're calling it until we officially have a new stadium rights deal out here. Sporting Park, I think, is perfectly sized. I do think the KC Current Stadium was a little bit undersized. I do think there's some interesting things about maybe how they built that size versus what, they built it at this size. Did that need to go to public vote to be approved for that land? Those kinds of things are usually taken into account and a factor. I believe, PayPal Park in San Jose, I grew up out there and grew up a Earthquakes fan. And I remember when they were building that stadium, one of the things was they built it purposefully under 20,000. So they did not have to go to a public vote on it. It was just a city council vote, and they were able to do that. And so if they want to further expand it, they can do that and do it again under that thing, and then only has to go through a city council vote. So there are things like that ownerships will do. I also think that when the stadium idea was thrown out in 2021, 2022, the idea of building a stadium was so far fetched for a pro women's soccer team, the idea of it, that it was kind of like, okay, we'll see if that works. Like, we'll see if this league is going to be in a sustainable place for this. And now you're like, whoa, should you have built it bigger? And they do have the ability to do it. I just think that the 11-5 was kind of a mix of, well, this is about double what we were getting at the time. They were getting 5,000-6,000 at Children's Mercy Park back then, when they were kind of announcing the idea of this stadium. And they have by the time it was funny. I think the very last home game, they weren't even competitive that year. The very last home game that the Current had at Children's Mercy Park, they overdid. They were outdrawing what they were going to hold at the new stadium. And so I think that was when the question was like, whoa, maybe you should have built it a tiny bit bigger. And they do have an expansion of capability, of course, along the riverside. They can build some stands back in there. They can also, if they wanted to, fully build up that supporters section and kind of wrap it in kind of the way PayPal Park is like fully wrapped and enclosed right now. You still kind of have some wings and wind tunnels on those corners there. So they have the capability of doing it. But yeah, the stadium wise, I think Children's Mercy or Sporting Park is probably fine for now, unless all of a sudden let's say they go sign like Griezmann or something like that, and we're just drawing hundreds of thousands of people that want to come to Kansas City over the course of the year for soccer, then maybe you might need to think about expanding a tiny bit. But
or just go to GEHA and just rent the lower bowl from
until the Chiefs become the sporting neighbors. That will be the fun part. So
absolutely, go back and spend time with your line producer. Literally, it was just she's like, it's like I'm good to go now. There you go, and it's good to have cameos. So yeah, go back and spend time with your line producer. Literally, I bugged you on breaking news. I'm glad you could come back in and break everything down for us for the education. As always, great to see you, my friend. Go get your coffee. Continue to be properly hydrated, stay warm, and pay attention to your line producer, because you're only as good as the people in your ear when it comes to this kind of stuff. And so it's always thanks for coming back on short notice, my friend. Be safe. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, thanks. See you guys.
All right, Daniel Sperry, once again, Kansas City Star with line producer. And that's fun. And so I with that breaking news, like I said, I wanted to get an education on the lay of the land when it comes to Kansas City. And now with new owners, what's it going to look like? And capital infusion, bringing in talent, more of a presence in the community, more out front. And then I wanted to kind of compare Maluk to the longs and see what it's looking at. But yeah, I was looking at stadium capacities, and literally at CPKC for the Current, it's only 11.5. And I was like, wait a minute. I mean, with a team that's that good, you've only got an 11.5 building. And I'm glad that we were able to find out from Daniel that there are expansion elements that can be attached to CPKC if the Current want to go down that road. It is a $117 million construction project. They got $6 million from the state. I think it was the state, so the city or the state, because of cost overruns. $6 million. Literally, it was that they evaluated a 7-acre tract. Then they do the $18 million practice facility that opens in 22, and they expanded it from 6,000 to 11.5. Current proposed a privately financed $70 million stadium development for the 11,000-seater in 2021, signed a 50-year lease with the Port of KC for that property. And so designed for future expansion up to 20,500, which I think they might need. So Current increased the planned seating capacity to 11.5, raised the required budget to $117 million. Ownership requested $6 million in state tax credits, to help offset the budget increase. So there you go. So that was what you were looking at, 11.5 expandable to 20. And I think that's big. And by the way, the press box dedicated to Grant Wall. Very cool. So that to me was big, that you can go from 11.5 to 20 if you need to. And now with Peter Maluk in charge, looks like there's going to be more of an investment and looking at players and things like that. So we'll see what Kansas City is looking like in the new season. So really quickly, let me go into Kansas City, just to what they have done in the off season to kind of prepare for that. And then we'll go back to what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, and all that stuff. So Sporting, let's see if they listed under S for Sporting and not K for Kansas City. So Sporting Kansas City, they 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 out, including Alan Montes, whose loan expired, Nemanja Radoja, Memo Rodriguez, Kyrie Shelton, Eric Tommy, Mason Toy. Volodare was lost on a free to Red Bulls, and Santi Munoz's loan has expired. Not that Santi Munoz. So you have in so far Justin Reynolds, who was brought in via trade from Chicago, super draft pick generation Adidas midfielder from Clemson, and Kwaku Agyebang, Stephen Cleveland in net to back up John Pulskamp, and a homegrown midfielder in Cielo Chantret. So very quiet offseason for David Lee, who did mention in our interview yesterday when we were talking to Daniel, 10 to 12 new players coming in. Right now you're at 4. So it looks like it's going to be very, very busy time for David Lee, sporting director, with new ownership percentages, with one group going out, with the Illigs going out for the most part, and Maluk taking over, with a valuation of $700 million, which was in the neighborhood of the middle of the pack, which was where Forbes had them valuated. So about where you figured it would be. So that's what you're staring at with Sporting currently and what they're looking at. So before Daniel came in, I know we were kind of blowing through what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. It was the 3, 6, 9 matchups in the Champions League. One of them is actually going on right now. And let me see if it is on anywhere. I would imagine that because of its early start, the answer is yes, it is. Or is it? Wow. Okay, hang on. Let's do this. Show me soccer. I can do that with my cable system. So let's see. Nothing like trying to see if there's anything live on the air. Okay. Events on now. Yes. So, okay. So it is on only Paramount Plus right now. So Kairat Almaty and Club Bruges is what's going on right now at and you've got 12:45 Bodo Glimt, Manchester City, and then you have 7 at 3 o'clock. So let's get you into juice boxes and let you get set up for this, and we'll go over the standings in Champions League as we're still toward the tail end of the group stage. And it will be, no. It's giving me the wrong channel. Anyway, Nope, that is not correct. We did not want to go there. So we're going to go to where we can actually watch the match instead of a place where we don't have the match and have to try to find some kind of subscription. So let's go here. Let's do that. All right. So 20th minute, Kairat Almaty and Club Bruges are goalless right now coming in. Bruges was a big favorite at a minus 227, going all the way to Kairat Almaty, which is one of the Stan republics in Far Eastern Europe. That's why they're starting at 10:30. Bodo Glimt in Manchester City near the Arctic Circle. Manchester City, a big favorite at a minus 278. Bodo Glimt to plus 565. Your 3 o'clocks. Napoli, a minus 104 at FC Copenhagen, who's a plus 298. Inter, a plus 162 at home, taking on Arsenal at a plus 179. Olympiacos, plus 131, hosting Bayer Leverkusen at a plus 190. Real Madrid and Monaco. Real Madrid, big favorite, minus 333 at home. Monaco, a plus 730. Sporting and PSG. PSG, a big favorite on the road at a minus 133. Sporting is a plus 317. Spurs and Dortmund. Thomas Frank, as we know right now, is still in charge. And it is a plus 177 for Spurs at home. Dortmund a plus 139. Draws a plus 259. And Villarreal and Ajax. Villarreal, big favorite at home at a minus 294. Ajax is a plus 670. Draw is a plus 449. Now, standings. Coming into today, you're trying to get out of group phase or league phase and be one of the top 8 so you don't have to play more matches like Just Happy to Be Here FC, our friends at Crystal Palace. Right now, through the first 6 matches, Arsenal, they've won them all. They've only given up 1 goal. They're at 18 points. And it is Bayern Munich at 15, PSG at 13, ahead of Manchester City on goal difference and Atalanta on goal difference. That gets you to 6th. You've got 4 teams who are at 12 points coming into this match day. Once again, the idea to get into the top 8. Inter, Real Madrid, Atletico de Madrid, Liverpool. Liverpool is outside looking in on goals scored. So right now, Liverpool is at 9, 9th place at 12 points. Dortmund at 11 with Spurs. So literally this could shake some folks and try to get if there is a winner, an outright winner in this one, they temporarily would be in the top 8. Newcastle at 10 points along with 3 others ahead of Chelsea, Sporting, and Barca on goal difference. Marseille is at 9 points. They've won their last 2. They're in 16th ahead of Juve, Galatasaray, and Monaco on goal difference. That gets us to 20. Leverkusen, last in goal difference at 9 points. They're at minus 2. PSV is at 8 points. Karabag is ahead of Napoli and FC Copenhagen on goal difference. They're all at 7 points. That's your top 24. 25 through 36 would not go on after this if it ended today. Benfica, Paphos, Royal Union, Athletic Bilbao, Olympiacos, Eintracht Frankfurt, Club Bruges, Bodo Glimt, Slavia Prague, Ajax, Villarreal, and Kairat Almaty, who have only 1 point on 1 draw. They've only scored 4 goals in their first 6 matches, and they have lost their last 3. They've lost 4 of 5. So that is your rundown of everything going on in the Champions League today. Kairat Almaty and Bruges going on right now, 23rd minute, no score. The one match that's happening at 12:30, everybody else, or 12:45 in the Arctic Circle, it's going to be pretty pictures. Everybody else is at 3 o'clock, the 7 matches there. And then tomorrow, league phase continues with 9 more matches, 2 at 12:45, 7 at 3 o'clock. We'll get into that tomorrow when we look back at everything as well. So, rumor mill, what to watch, and you're taking a peek at everything else that's going on in the rumor mill. So if we look at gossip, rumor, and innuendo and find out who might be going where, who might be doing what, and what you're staring at when you are checking in with everything. Aston Villa is interested in Jean-Philippe Mateta, and Crystal Palace is eyeing Villa's Guessand as a part of the proceedings there. So from Ornstein, as of about a half hour ago. So Mateta weighing up a move in the opposite direction from Evan Guessand, who they, meaning Palace, have been pursuing since the summer. It is Juve inquiring about a move from Mateta. Palace terms run until June of 27 after the club triggered a one-year extension back in December of 24. Back January 20, Juve wasn't prepared to pay the 40 million euro that Palace are believed to want for Mateta and had moved on. Juve considered the asking price unrealistic, with Mateta turning 29, contract expiring the following year. 28-year-old has started all 22 of Palace's Premier League matches this year, scoring 8 goals, 2 goals in 10 appearances in cup competition. Guessand has struggled to make an impact in the top flight since joining Villa from Nantes in the summer, yet to score in 13 appearances. He has scored twice in Europa League. Mateta's 17 goals in 14 matches as Palace won the FA Cup last year, 19 and 39 the year before. The French international, 56 goals in 185 matches. Palace have already seen Guéhi depart, and then Oliver Glasner, he said that he was obviously not going to be returning once his contract was up. No real surprise. So your gossip, rumor, and innuendo for the morning, and this is where we check the papers and we get to find out just how accurate they are or how accurate they're not. Here's what the rundown looks like. Gabriel Jesus, wanted by Palmeiras, recovered from a long-term injury, out of contract in 27, could return to Brazil, 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Manchester United keeping tabs on Sunderland midfielder Noah Siddiqui, could offer Ugarte in a swap deal, according to our friends at Gimme Sport. Kobe Mainoo expected to stay following the appointment of Michael Carrick, considering a loan move to play more regularly, but it looks like he's going to stay. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Flamengo remain interested in Lucas Paquetá. Understood there's been no contact between the clubs since last week. Remember, the initial bid from Flamengo in the neighborhood of 40 million euro was turned down. West Ham and Villa midfield target Quentin Timber left out of Feyenoord's lineup on Sunday. Marseille have already made an offer, 4-letter paper. We mentioned Liverpool, Ibrahima Konate. They are ways apart with the new contract, 5th season at Anfield. He thinks he should be paid as one of the best paid defenders in the Premier League. Liverpool could move to replace Konate with Mickey Van de Ven. Real Madrid also paying attention to his future as well. Chelsea have agreed personal terms to Jeremy Jacquet, but it will need to improve their bid to sign the Rennes and France U21 defender, who is also wanted by Arsenal. Bournemouth plan to resist any bids for Marcus Senesi this month, even though he has turned down multiple offers to extend his deal, which expires in the summer. Juve and Barca have shown interest in the defender. Keep an eye on that. Aberdeen in talks to sign QPR center back Liam Morrison on loan. Joined QPR from Bayern Munich in the summer of 24. Jeremy Sarmiento looks like Middlesbrough turned to other attacking targets because they couldn't agree to a deal with Brighton for Sarmiento. Sarmiento right now looks like he is being looked at by other folks, just won't be heading in that particular direction. So that's what you're kind of staring at in one paper. Let's see what the other papers have to say when it comes to all of these deals and anything else that's going on that we might have missed this morning. Obviously, there's news on Paquetá and Ethan Nwaneri. So Aberdeen closing in on the loan signing of Houston Dynamo striker Toyosi Olusanya. 28-year-old's traveling to Scotland for a medical. And so we'll see what happens there. Close to agreeing to a loan until the end of the year. Details potentially to extend his stay being discussed. Former St. Mirren center forward, first half of the year at Doncaster, 12 goals for St. Mirren, 2 assists before joining Houston in April of 25. So we mentioned Sky News also is reporting Villa stepping up their interest in signing Tammy Abraham, who is on loan at Besiktas from Roma. Unai Emery wants to strengthen his attacking options following the sale of Daniel Malin to Roma. And so looking at Mateta as one of those options. So once again, Palace weighing the move for Evan Guessand that we talked about a little earlier. Palace are still working on a deal to sign Angers forward Siddiqui Sharif, 19-year-old initial loan, initial obligation to buy. The 19-year-old, if conditions were met, proposed package, which included a £2.6 million loan fee worth a little over 13. The Ligue 1 club Angers are holding out for a full package around 17.4, coming down from their initial demand of 21.8. So there's that. Leon Bailey's loan spell at Roma has been cut short, returning to Villa. We mentioned Tammy Abraham in that pursuit. Ajax is now confident on agreeing on a permanent deal to sign Arsenal left back Alexander Zinchenko. Initially, it was just going to be a loan. Now the Dutch club have agreed to terms on the 6-month contract, long-term future revisited in the summer. So Andoni Iraola says his Bournemouth players have been asking for new signings to boost the club's slim squad. Once again, remember, you lose Kluivert to a knee injury, Semenyo to Manchester City, and Tyler Adams is out. Gannon Doak is out. Soler, Brooks, Enes Unal, Adams, and Gannon Doak all missed the 1-1 draw at Brighton. Tavernier forced off with a hamstring issue. Iraola, whose club confirmed the arrival of midfielder Alex Toth from Ferencváros, admits they're in a very delicate situation. 4 young players and 3 defenders on the bench at Brighton. So keep an eye on that. Ben Godfrey arrived on a loan move to Brøndby from Atalanta. The former Everton player might be in his next step. Roberto De Zerbi said his focus is on Marseille amid links with becoming the next new Manchester United head coach. And he had his Champions League fixture and presser in the MD-1. He says, I feel very well in the city with these players, with this club. Is for the future. We got to speak in the next month and the next year. I don't know. Roberto De Zerbi also said that Ethan Nwaneri is a good player as they're looking to sign him from Arsenal. Birmingham City apparently is now the forward for Jeremy Sarmiento coming over from Brighton. And Boubacar Kamara for Villa, expected to miss the rest of the season with a knee injury. Another blow for Aston Villa going forward. They picked it up in the 2-1 FA Cup third-round win with Spurs, following a tackle from Joao Palhinha, forced him off in the 9th minute. Well, let's see. So Aberdeen also pursuing other players as well. So that's that's the rundown of anyone and everyone and all of the things going across the board. Let's see. Quickly, our friends at Nofo Brewing have added Chattanooga FC to the mix for the official craft beer. So that's very, very cool from our friends at Nofo. Also, let's see. Let's check the papers and any of the other stories that are around this morning and see if there's anything that we might have missed. Don't know if you saw this. The Moroccan Federation has announced it's going to pursue legal action over the AFCON final based on the belief that the decision of Senegal's players to leave had a material impact on the result. I would say that it had a material impact on the Panenka attempt by Brahim Diaz. So Senegal gets the win, 1-0. Papagay scoring in the 94th minute after they played 120. So you have Brahim Diaz apologizing for the miss, describing it as a failure that had left his soul hurting and it would be difficult to recover from. So the Moroccan Federation, quote, "The Royal Moroccan Football Federation announces it will pursue legal action with the Confederation of African Football and FIFA to rule on the walk-off of the Senegalese national team from the field during the final against the Moroccan national team, as well as on the events surrounding this decision following the referee's awarding of a penalty that was deemed correct by all experts. The situation had a significant impact on the normal course of the match and on the player's performance," end quote. Walid Regragui criticized Pape Thiaw for having Senegal's players walk off, and Brahim Diaz came out with his statement. CAF came out with their own statement, making it clear the objection to Senegal's walk-off, describing it as unacceptable and inappropriate, saying that they would, quote, "be reviewing all footage that will refer to the matter to competent bodies for appropriate action to be taken against those found guilty." Gianni Infantino obviously not happy about that either, but I think that you better look at the ball boys trying to pull the towel away from the Senegalese keeper, and then from the secondary keeper who basically was trying to keep the towel away from the ball boys. And then you also had a Moroccan substitute apparently trying to block the backup keeper from giving the towel to the number one keeper in Mendy. So there's kind of some glass house of stuff going on here. There was a lot of logistics that was kind of slanted. You look at that, all those things. So Morocco really is not in a place to sit there and do those kinds of things. Dominic Szoboszlai has revealed that there is no decision reached on a new contract. And I'll see if there's any other news and things that we might have been missing. Oh, yes. London City in the WSL, they have signed Delphine Cascarino from San Diego Wave, leaving San Diego by mutual agreement. And Daniela Van de Donk had her debut at London City as well. So Cascarino leaves San Diego, goes to London City on a 3.5-year deal. The WSL newcomers once again continuing to draw players in 7 goals in 34 matches in San Diego after joining in the summer of 2024, won the World Sevens tournament back in December, but it was her time at Lyon where she made her name, and so now she is heading back to Europe, and Delphine Cascarino goes back to London City from her time in San Diego. So there is that. Let me continue to take the papers on the tour really quickly before we exit today. Once again, tomorrow it is efforting out of Statesboro with Media Day for South Georgia Tormenta, because there's a lot to talk about there. Very busy offseason for them. We're going to catch up with our friends at Vanuatu United, because when a player from Virginia Tech in the ACC gets a game-tying goal in your first ever match ever, time to catch up with him. We're going to do that. We're going to catch up with Willie Cardona. We're going to catch up with him. And let's see, Thomas Frank feels trust from the Spurs board after meeting with the decision makers, and we'll keep an eye on that. I still think that he is going to eventually no longer be the coach at Tottenham Hotspur, but do not be surprised by that. All right, so we saw that one, and let me check. I got 2 more papers to check and see if there's anything else that's going to break before the end of the hour. Let's see. Talent Factory, Thomas Frank. Yes, Thomas Frank in danger of Spurs sacking despite a Dortmund reprieve. Of course, yes. Let's see. Is there anything else that's not news? And those kinds of things we need to discuss with Bart. So that's 2 papers down. I think we're safe. Let me check my emails really quickly and see if there's anything else that might have been missed as we go. And I think we're in good shape. I think we are in good shape. He said. Okay. So tomorrow, once again, it is the opportunity to catch up with hopefully our friends in Statesboro, busiest man in the Northeast, Dylan Butler, Vanuatu United. We got Champions League. We got all the things coming up tomorrow. Thursday, the Power Hour with Nino and Nico. We're still efforting a bunch of guests, including new signees for the Orlando Pride that are known by this footprint. And then Friday's going to be a wide open Friday, getting you ready for the weekend, and we'll see what we can track down there as well. So once again, thanks to Daniel Sperry for rejoining us to discuss the ownership situation at Sporting Kansas City and finding out what the differences may be and what the differences are between Peter Maluk and the Longs with Kansas City Current, and comparing stadia and strategies and things like that. So there's a lot of guests we're efforting and changing and chasing. There's a lot of stuff going on here on the planet. Thanks to Madison Crews. Thanks to Daniel Sperry. Thanks to all of y'all. And congratulations to Ronan Wynn for his first point in the OFC Pro League in the 3-1 win for Auckland over Vanuatu United. Stay warm, stay dry, get all your stuff in. Don't rush to the store. What is it? Be quick, don't hurry, what John Wooden said. So be quick, don't hurry. Get your stuff. Everything will be cool. Yes, and I wish it was Nino Torres Stadium, David. That'd be epic. But yes, a different baker is there. And believe it or not, it was a guy who was popular in the 1980s at that particular stadium. And he was active in the club, and he did commercials. He was kind of like the creator of – he was like if Wonder Bread had a creator in that particular league, then that would be the guy. And he was a fan of this club. And so they had a vote like a decade ago whose name should be on the stadium. 43% of the people said the Baker. So the Baker is on the stadium, is the name of the stadium for this club that we saw last night in the Copa de Argentina. So very, very cool stuff there as well. So thanks to our friends at Fanatis. Thanks to our friends at Nofo Brewing. Thanks to our friends at the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. Thanks to our friends at Black Pitch Coffee. Thanks to our friends at Grady Baby at grady-baby.com to get the Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta gear. By the way, I think they're running a special if you're on their newsletter right now. So you can help out middle school soccer programs attached to the Atlanta Public School System by getting the Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta gear. But it's on sale, so you still get to help them out, and you get to get more stuff. So it's a collaboration that we have with our friends at Grady Baby, and then once again, our friends at the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. I've got like 2 scarves left before I have to order another 50. Thanks to all of you guys for helping us out when it comes to the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation as they continue to grow as the last country on the planet to start a national soccer team. So thanks to all of them. Thanks to all of you. Back at it again, 9:05 tomorrow morning. So mucha plati, y'all. Play it safe. Stay warm. Get your shopping done. Apparently Sunday's going to be stupid and stupid crazy. Since it is the end of the show, Once again, go listen to Soccer Over There from last night. You get to find out about Aztec mythology and teams from Guatemala. At the end of the show, that means we get to do this. Mucha Plati. I'll see you tomorrow.